What's up, Skullbells TV? In this video, my 30-day lion diet results, why I did it, what I learned, and why I'm still doing it. I'm going to show you every single meal that I ate. For those that are unfamiliar, the lion diet is a subcategory of the carnivore diet, if you want to call it that. It's red meat, water, salt, and that is absolutely it. The meat must come from ruminant animals. That could be beef, it could be lamb, did lots of venison, just shot a deer, and so made sure we got plenty of that. No pork, no chicken, no fish, no eggs, no dairy, and certainly nothing processed. Red meat, water, salt, that's it. Gonna kick things off with a clip of my interview from ultra marathon runner and bodybuilding champion Jake Thomas, who put me up to this challenge that would eventually become a tool that I use to improve my health physically, but more so mentally. Here we go. Oh, and you can grab the entire conversation on session number 28 of Carnivore Coaches Corner. That is our podcast that is rated number 108 according to Spotify and US Nutrition Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jake Thomas.
What's the difference between your B plus 88 student, your 90 to 92 A minus student, your 93 to 97 A student, and then your 97 and above A plus student, and your, the bonus getters 100 and above? Your A plus 97 to 100 person, they might not even have gotten anything wrong on the test. They may have just not shown work, and teacher docked you 2 points because you didn't show work. You got the answer right, but you didn't show work. So you didn't get anything actually wrong.
Yeah.
And God, that used to piss me off because that was me. I would see things, know things, especially like in math. I would see things, know things, write the answers down and not show the work. I was like, fuck this. Like, I don't need to show I would get points off for not showing the work. And it would piss me off so bad because I didn't get it wrong. But whether it was that, not dotting an I or crossing a T, minus a point. You didn't necessarily get something wrong, but that's the fraction that you're working with that differentiates you from being a 100 student, a perfect score, to a 98. And 98 is still pretty amazing, right? But then let's say you do get one wrong. Maybe now you're a 97, but if you get one wrong and you didn't show work, well, now you're a 95. So now you're an A, you're no longer an A plus. And it's only with missing one question and then not showing an answer or showing work for another. Let's say you miss 2 questions and don't show work for one. Well, now you're down to 93, A minus. You're still an A student. You're not an A student or an A plus student. You're an A minus student. It's still great. I mean, you're still Dean's List. Your parents love you. It's awesome. But you're probably thinking like, damn, I really wanted that 100. Like, I knew the answer to this, but I got it wrong. Didn't show my work for that one. Damn it. I got it right, but I still got docked. And then if you're the B plus, you obviously studied, you obviously knew the material, you just maybe missed a couple here and there. So what's the difference between all those? Not a lot, as far as in how much more preparation is required. As far as, is one person necessarily smarter or more intelligent than the other? Not necessarily.
May I
details, right?
May I interject just to make sure I'm tracking with you? Okay. So we're both bodybuilders. What's the one thing that separates what's the one thing why some of the best athletes just never get first place? Posing. Like that's so there are athletes that come in and they have the most muscle and they are the leanest, but they didn't spend the time on their posing and they just weren't able to show the judges properly. Totally. So yeah, but it's a fraction of your training. It's like you have everything else done. You did the hardest part. You just gotta do that last little bit. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely, and it's a great example because I've been on the losing end of that and on the winning end of that.
Yeah, you and me both.
It's true. It's very true. It's a great example. So with the scoring in school and whatnot, what really is the difference between all those people? It's like the one girl or the one guy who got that perfect score. It's because she took her time, checked her work, showed her work, all that stuff. Everybody else studied well, but it's just those little details. And so she reaps the rewards of total preparation, dedication, commitment, consistency, experience, etc. Whereas the rest of us, we slopped a little bit. And what I'm saying is there is a cave of wonders, Colt, that awaits you, me, all of us if we totally give into this form of eating, like at its ultimate level. And by that I would say strict carnivore, meaning animals and animal byproducts only, period. Well, what about coffee? Does coffee breathe? Does coffee fly, walk, or have blood? No. What about, I have a little garlic powder? I'm like, I understand it's not about demonizing garlic powder or onion salt or, you know, the glutamine or the creatine. No, 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 no. But it's about what you realize, what you can get from not having it. And then it's the self-reliance and understanding of that and saying, my God, all of this is achievable without any of that other stuff. Like, what else can I do? And you never really know that until you take it all away.
All right, so day one, we started off this challenge after having done 16 days of what was close enough, almost, but not really quite. Still had some artificial sweeteners and some things that I decided to kick out. And so the first actual full day of a strict lion diet was 2¼ pounds of chuck steak and elk steak. Chuck steak, by the way, if you're new to the carnivore diet, is a great hack. It's like the poor man's ribeye is what it's called. Very similar marbling. Also did some bone broth and a little bit of 80-20 ground beef with that as well. As far as tracking, I've been tracking my weight every day until the last week because I do not track weight when I travel. Whenever I travel, I always make sure that I give it a week of being in my normal diet, my normal training routine, everything when I'm back home, because then the water retention settles down and it doesn't mess with my head. So I track weight. I track the amount of time that I'm sleeping. I'm tracking whether I'm in ketosis or not. And I'm also tracking my sleep quality. I use my Oura ring for that. So usually anywhere between 80 to 90% is pretty good. If I'm in the 60s and 70s, it's usually because I'm not grounding enough. I might be working too late. Things that make my sleep better are things like getting it on with my significant other. Making sure that I'm getting grounded, not eating like right before bed, at least not a giant meal, things like that. When I do one meal a day, though, a lot of times that's what it ends up being. I try to make sure that I have, probably 15, 20 minutes worth of stuff to do before I go to bed after I finish my meal, though. And that's usually just going to bed, brushing my teeth, all that stuff. Ketones, it's not super important to tell whether I'm in ketosis the entire time or not. You don't need to track to be able to tell if you're doing it right or not. I just like to have more data because I always learn something. And so I've noticed that the higher my protein is, the lower my ketone numbers are, and the higher my fats are, then the higher my ketone ratings are. So right now I'm eating let's see, that was a burger at my parents' place. That was a really good one. I remember that one. I remember every single one of these meals, by the way. Looks like we got some chuck steak here and some bone broth. That piece of meat that you see in the bone broth, one of my favorite things to do is actually to heat the meat up, heat the broth up into to where it's boiling, and then I'll put it over raw meat. And what that does is it flash cooks it, like very, very similar to pho. I also like to write everything down instead of using an app. I'm a full-time coach, and so I spend a lot of time on the screen, and I'm trying to minimize screen time throughout the day as much as possible. Having blue light blocking glasses definitely helps, but anything that I can write down, that's always more helpful. Tallow. So you see those chunks next to the meat that look kind of like butter? It's kind of like butter. It tastes like butter. It tastes very similar. And after I cut butter out of my diet, it started tasting a lot more like butter. So that's really interesting. Tallow also has a very high amount of choline. And so I think that might be why my recovery started to improve after the first couple weeks. Like I said, the first couple weeks right now, still where we're at, about 25% of the way through this, it sucked. Like I was having a lot of withdrawal symptoms. Oh, this is some liver actually that we fed to our kids. They love raw liver. If I cook it, they will not eat it. Let's see, is this a beef liver? Yeah, that was a beef liver that I grabbed at the store for, it was on sale. So I got an entire package of it for $10, a couple pounds worth. If it looks fresh, I will eat it raw. If it looks sketchy, I won't buy it. I'll do a different organ. I don't like cooked liver very much. You can see my ketones are a little bit lower than they normally are because there's like hardly any fat in liver, and it's also there's also some carbs in it too. Not a whole lot of carbs, but a very small trace amount. But yeah, our kids love it. So the next day, what I did with that liver is I put the rest of it in the bowl, and I did just like what I said with the steak. So I got the bone broth very, very hot, like boiling hot, and then just poured it right over top. So after these first couple weeks, I was really missing my supplements, but after about halfway through the second week is when my workout started improving, and that's when I started feeling better. That's when I was kind of done with all the artificial sweetener withdrawals, because it had been about 2 weeks by this point now that I had had anything sweet enter my mouth. And so what happens is your entire flavor profile changes. Meat tastes like candy. Tallow tastes like butter, like the best butter that you've ever had. But you have to be disciplined for the first couple weeks to be able to let your taste buds adjust. Not only that, but your ability to distinguish different flavors between meats that for a while leading up to then had seemed to be the same. I'm able to notice differences in the way that different cuts of steak taste and the way that different salts taste even. So this is gourmet kosher salt. This is sourced out of Guatemala. It's a Celtic sea salt product. It's on our website, supersetyourlife.com. There's a very, very high amount of magnesium in it. It's actually, of all their like couple hundred different types of salt at Celtic sea salt, that's the one that has the best bang for your buck as far as magnesium goes. It's $6 a bag too, so those are pretty good. The light gray Celtic salt is what I'm using on this one. That has a higher amount of iodine in it, so I like to cycle it in for that reason too. But what you don't see pictured in any of these is pink potassium cave salt, also by Celtic sea salt. There's as much potassium as there is sodium in it. So what you'll notice is that people, if they've been lion or if they've been strict carnivore for quite some time, they're really not big on electrolyte supplements. And there's a couple reasons for that. Because once you start cutting out fiber and some of these, even coffee, some of these things that a lot of the keto crowd are big fans of having in their diet. Those types of foods can leach nutrients and inhibit your body's ability to get the most out of the potassium and the sodium and the magnesium that your body is consuming. And so once you've eliminated and refined your diet to nothing but red meat, your body becomes very efficient at using the electrolytes that are in your food naturally. However, being a high performing athlete that's always pushing the envelope in terms of running and in terms of my weight training, my hypertrophy training for bodybuilding, that is, I do believe that there is a benefit to supplementing a little bit of additional electrolytes on top of that. However, being on the lion diet, anything with an artificial sweetener is not okay. That messes things up. Even the unflavored ones, it's still not the same, any supplements that I have had. And so being able to meet all of my electrolyte needs through the use of sea salts only has been very, very helpful. Also, bone broth. There's a good amount of electrolytes in bone broth. And so you'll notice that as well, is that carnivore athletes, lion diet athletes, big on the bone broth game, typically. I'm a fan of it. Fine ground Celtic sea salt. What that is the same thing as light gray, but it's just ground a bit finer. It just really comes down to what you prefer at that point. Cardiovascular health. I've been noticing a big improvement. So this is day number 13 right now. Zion and I just finished making these deltoid desolator cable attachments for our website, supersetyourlife.com, baby. Those are the Patriot edition. That's actually our new one. And so doing sprints, I didn't really notice a big difference, but long distance running, what I did notice is at the end of my 1 a week 10K that I do, I just don't want to stop. I hit that runner's high, and before, like a couple months ago, I would usually want to stop around that point, but I kind of feel like going for an extra mile or two typically. So most of my runs here, again, I do one long distance run a week. Zion and I do together, that is, and we've been typically going about a mile or two longer now. Let's see, we're smoking some leg of lamb, it looks like, some burgers that I pulled out of the freezer for the dog and the kid. Put a little bit of cheese on them for them. I'm not eating the cheese, obviously, because that is not okay on the lion diet. But James is a big fan. Zion is a big fan. We try to make it fun too, and do and when we're using the smoker to cook everything in bulk. So I like to, if I'm going to put one thing on the smoker and get the smoker going, then I might as well just put everything on there, right? And so if I'm smoking some food for me, I'm smoking some food for everybody, I think we got a couple days worth out of that food. That lamb definitely lasted a couple days, and those burgers don't last very long in front of my son. He's a pretty big fan of those. Let's see. So my fats were higher. See, I was using 73% ground beef, and I got all the way up to 30 on my ketone device. So here again, big correlation between when I go with the fattier cuts, I'm deeper in ketosis, and that means that my metabolic rate is increased by 30%. So that always puts a smile on my face, and I typically just have more energy throughout the rest of the day too when that happens. Mackay Pure Salt. This is a grinder. This is a fun one. There's also a high amount of magnesium in it. I don't know why, but all the salts that I use that are sourced from the the Pacific Ocean, they have a high amount of magnesium. So that one's sourced from Hawaii, and that's again Mackay Pure Salt is the name of that one. As far as the Atlantic Oceans, that's where Celtic fine gray is sourced, and so you see a lot of other trace minerals that are sourced from natural sea salts in the Atlantic Ocean. I know that most coaches advocate for a 30-day run if you're going to do the Lion Diet. I almost kind of want to recommend that most people actually try for 15 days because I'm just over 2 weeks in now, and that's when I feel like I really hit a breakthrough. That's when it didn't feel even remotely restrictive at all. It never really felt restrictive from the very beginning. Red meat is also something that is always something that I've enjoyed, always been a fan of it. If I ever have a choice between red meat and something else, I'm gonna pick red meat. And so this is a diet that after the first couple weeks and letting go of the handful of things that I used to like, I had to move on from that mentality and realize that those were addictive tendencies and those were cravings. Anything that was sweet, anything that wasn't red meat. I've done this long enough to know that my body thrives on red meat and absolutely loves it. Does not need carbs to be able to perform better. I don't need carbs to be able to get better workouts. I'm getting better workouts than I ever have before. I'm seeing great muscle growth, particularly in my legs right now. And to think that what was holding me back was thinking that I needed an energy drink before my workouts, and thinking that I used to need carbs. I busted that myth a long time ago. But the fact that meat has every single nutrient that your body needs, that changes your whole perspective, your whole mindset around food. So I had to get to a point to where instead of thinking about food as pleasure and thinking about something that I enjoy and thinking about something that I go to when I'm low on energy, I had to start thinking of it in terms of, okay, I'm going to eat when I'm hungry. And so my tracking is that you'll notice gets very, very, I guess, less precise the more that I went through this journey. I was tracking just weights of food, loosely tracking protein to start, and then I kind of stopped after the first week, realizing that it's just not really practical on the Lion Diet. This is a very, very intuitive diet. You get to know your body inside and out, and you never really think of your body the same again. You never think of your relationship with food again the same, that's for sure. And so it almost kind of felt like contest prep in the way that I'm learning so much about my body and I'm learning so much about food, but I wasn't starving myself at the same time. I was not hungry one time. Not one time did I feel like I was going to freak out if I didn't have a meal. I was eating one meal a day for most days, pretty much every single day up until this point. When I was traveling with my competitors that you'll see here in a little bit, we were going out, and so there were some times where I was doing 2 meals or 3 meals a day, but for the most part, it was 1 meal a day. So I had to realize is that there's a huge difference between, here we go, Redmond Real Salt, just to change things up. This was in, let's see, where was this? Oh yeah, this was at the hotel in New Hampshire. So this is when we got to the competition. This is after a really, really long flight. Oh yeah, and they had this is at the Longhorn Steakhouse. They had fresh sea salt on the table, so I brought my own, making sure that we're always prepared. But yeah, we were feasting on ribeyes for pretty much the entire weekend. Nate and I both were. It's Nate's favorite cut of steak, probably my favorite cut of steak, unless we're gonna count the picanha cut of sirloin, which is what you get at the Brazilian steakhouse, and that's at the end of the video too. Let's see. This is Texas Roadhouse. So this is the same day or the second day. I don't know. We had so many ribeyes, it was kind of lost track after a while. So here's where I definitely stopped tracking all of my food and was just eating completely to satiety, completely by intuition. This is him filling up in the hotel room after that ribeye. Decided to leave the video out with him looking like he was skin and bones right before this. But every time this dude ate a ribeye, it was crazy. He just got bigger and bigger. He's a science experiment. If you don't know Nate's story, by the way, he has Crohn's disease, and so he has to be on this diet because if he doesn't, he basically dies. He's still getting great pumps, obviously nice and full, crushed the competition. So this is after we got back to another 10-hour drive. We went to his home, which is in Hedgesville, West Virginia, working out at a gym called One Life Fitness right now. And so going back to what I was saying on cravings, and this is a photo shoot that we did right afterwards, cravings versus hunger. If you're listening to this, I can almost guarantee you have never experienced true hunger in your life before. There's a big difference between craving something and actually being hungry. Being hungry means that you need food because of a health reason. Most people, when they hit that point, if you fast, you're going to find more benefits from fasting. Okay, enough on that. This is the best ribeye I have ever had in my entire life. Not that one. That's his because it has the butter on it. This is after his competition, so he's getting a little loose with his diet. I'm just kidding. No, I think he had one cookie and regretted having it, and then he's basically back to business now. So we chewed on these things for a couple hours. We're going over film. We're going over placings. We're going over everything that basically just unpacking the entire competition and what to do with our physiques moving forward. Picked up some ground beef at Aldi's. That's their health store, apparently, on the East Coast. So over here, we have Natural Grocers. Aldi's, that's the place where you go for good beef on the East Coast. So then had a nice long quick flight to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then all the way over to Seattle. That was like an 8 or 10 hour flight, I swear. I don't know, probably not that long, but it felt like it was that long. As soon as I got in, went to the restaurant supply store and got a big batch of lamb, 10 pounds of it. That was for myself and for Nate and for Leo. We all did the same show together. So I had a couple nights by myself, and it was just back to business as usual, one meal a day, of course. On the pendulum squat right now, Mark, as soon as he gets in, he's excited for his competition, and he did great with his competition. He crushed it. But this dude was on a mission to train me as soon as he got here. This is our first time working out together, actually, after working together virtually for a year. So that was a pretty awesome workout. Let's see. The rest of the day then, I just made burgers for everybody, actually, for me, for Leo, and for him. I made like a million of them. And I mixed beef with lamb because lamb is something that both of them were not eating a whole lot of on their diet, so I didn't want to throw them off like right before they started. But yeah, as you can see, Leo is very enthusiastic about his burgers and about stepping on stage. So he crushed it the next day. Let's see, I already said that. Mark, he's filling up right now on some ground beef, and so coming up through this competition, that's why it was fun, because I had both of these gentlemen like pretty much on the same diet as me. And so I felt like I was competing in the same sense that I was doing the exact same diet, but just eating 5 times as much food because I would rather not eat. I would rather not feel like I'm on contest prep, that is. So this is at check-in the night before. This is right before our kind of our big refeed meal. That's Ivan. He did an amazing job putting on that competition. So we stopped and got ribeyes on the way back. These ribeyes were great. They weren't quite as good as the ones that Nate had, because Nate is legendary at cooking them, and I can't. And we used a Ninja too, so that was a lot of fun. But I mean, these ones were actually spectacular. They were really, really good ribeyes, and we just got them from Safeway too. We had to sort through like a whole bunch of different cuts of steak to be able to find the best ones, but we totally found them. So that was Mark's refeed meal, and Leo's refeed meal as well. This is Mark doing men's physique, and that was Leo doing open bodybuilding right before that. Mark low-key did not even know what men's physique was before doing this, because we prepped him for bodybuilding. He did great with bodybuilding, but he actually ended up enjoying men's physique more, I think. So that was a piece of garlic steak on my plate. All right, we are at Novilhos. This is my favorite restaurant on the planet. This is our after party. So it was me, it was Hyro Chang. So we were working on some stuff with the Open Natural. Sarah made it too. One of our newer athletes, also keto carnivore. She's getting ready for a bikini prep, and this was a wonderful experience for all of us to be able to have some fellowship together, talk about what we accomplished this year, talk about what we're doing moving forward, and no alcohol, no drugs. We don't need that. We're kind of high on life and high on Jesus at this point. This is just good times with good people, and you don't need carbs, you don't need sugar, you don't need a bunch of garbage, you don't need to go off the rails right after you're done with a diet, right after you're done with your competition, to be able to enjoy life. Sounds like kind of a sad way to live life, in my opinion. Food should be used as fuel, not as pleasure. However, how can you say that that's not pleasurable at the same time? I mean, if God came to me and said, Colt, you can eat anywhere that you want on the entire planet, where would you eat? I would say, hands down, Brazilian steakhouse, not even a close second. And actually, it would be this specific restaurant too. They did a wonderful job with all their cuts of meat. And I was actually able to stay on the lion diet the entire time. And so whenever they came by with something that was pork or chicken, I just said thanks, but no thanks. Lamb and beef all day, baby. And don't worry, we definitely put all of that good food to work, because the next day, Mark put me through a shoulder and arm workout. He did his own workout. He put Leo through a leg workout. And then we did some photo shooting with Hyro Chang for the Open Natural afterwards. If you go to a Brazilian steakhouse, you got to get the picanha cut. That was the one that you saw. It's a sirloin folded over. It's folded over in half, and then they slice it off right in front of you. Absolutely delicious. Hands down, my favorite cut of steak that I've ever had in my entire life is that sucker. Using an arm blaster too, because we were keeping it old school. Why not? So I'm sporting my Skull Bells underwear right now. The pins that I'm using are the pins that are actually going to be used at the second, the Open Natural, which is going to be our second time. This is Hyro, and Hyro's the guy that's the gentleman that is shooting me. So he and I are the promoters of this show. We're gonna co-host it again together, and that'll be in July of 2024. And then the only reason we did this was to shoot some footage for a back exercise. So here we go, still nice and full. That's kind of that's probably one last thing that I noticed that is a huge benefit on this was the consistency of my energy levels and my pump throughout my workout and throughout the entire day. Have not been able to accomplish that with carbs in my diet before. All right, so the biggest takeaways on all this, I feel like a new person inside and out. My clients and those that are close to me have been telling me that I am more relaxed, that I'm more calm, that I'm less fidgety, and that I'm less anxious. Those are good things to hear. Maybe I'm just growing up too. Mental clarity through the roof. Number 3 is that it saved time. I didn't even typically most days think about food until the end of the day. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably eat something before I go to bed. That did not exist in my life before this. I wasn't packing millions of supplements around. When Jake was talking to me and I was thinking about my next few weeks and all the traveling I was going to be doing, I was like, if there's anything that'll make this a nightmare, it'll be trying to get in 3 or 4 meals a day. It'll be packing all my supplements around. I just wasn't going to do all that. And so it allowed me to focus 100% on my competitors, forget about myself in a lot of ways, and really just put my eyes on them. I spent a lot less time eating. As far as my physique goes, upper body, I think it's kind of the same. I don't know. My wife was telling me that my chest is bigger. Maybe she's just saying that to make me feel better. But lower body, noticeable growth in quads, hamstrings, and hip adductors. I have been slamming those 3 muscle groups because they're very, very important for the physique that I'm trying to achieve right now. So conditioning, roughly the same. That's okay. I'm like in halfway decent shape to be doing YouTube videos right now, and any fatter than that, then I'll need to trim down a little bit to make sure I don't get too far away. And I don't want my next cut to be a pain either. So I'm just trying to stay right now where I'm at, like probably around 10 to 15% body fat. Feels good, feels strong, feel confident in the gym. It's been boosting my bedroom performance. Sorry if that offends you, but I'm talking about sleeping, obviously. Yeah, my sleep quality, that has been an improvement. Sleep quality has been an improvement, but more specifically though, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, I'm just going to leave it at that. Having some activities with my wife, let's just say that they're more enjoyable, and I'm able to do a better job. Better Bible studies. That's a weird segue. So OMAD, that's been helping a lot. Going one of the best things about the Lion Diet is that it allows you to naturally transition into intermittent fasting. Whenever I've tried to do intermittent fasting over the past, it has always backfired. And so going Lion has made it way easier to skip a meal. Whereas before I would be like, all right, it's noon. Like usually I eat around this time. So that definitely improved a lot. With intermittent fasting, that's when I get my best prayers, my most eye-opening meditation experiences is at the tail end of a fast. My budget, this has been saving our family a ton of money, actually. People are like, oh, I can't do the carnivore diet because it's too expensive. Bull crap, you're not doing it right. Nothing goes to waste in this house. We did lots of sales shopping. I just shot a 4x3 buck. That was about a 300-pound deer, big old fat boy. And so that's good. I had my first meal of that actually last night. It tasted great. It tasted similar to elk, but different than elk. It tasted like victory. That's what it tasted like. Let's see. Reduced inflammation. Yeah, the plantar fasciitis on my feet is gone. That put me out the first couple months of the year because that's when I decided to train for a marathon. I took on way too much mileage, way too fast, and kind of wrecked my entire body, actually. My bulging discs started flaring up. I was pissed. It actually kind of ruined my long distance running dreams. And so I quit all running for a couple weeks until my feet started feeling better. And then after being on the strict Lion Diet, I've been able to keep up doing just one long distance run a week because I really enjoy it, around 8 or 9 miles typically. And I'm able to do it without any pain in my feet and with any back issues. The running was actually really hard on my back too, from all the years of heavy back squats, conventional deadlifts. Anyway, that's all been under control and feeling fine. The Lion Diet is a very it's a very anti-inflammatory diet. And so I believe that was a big part in overcoming my foot condition, my foot injuries. As far as next steps, I'm going to stay strict with this actually until Thanksgiving. And so I still haven't missed a day, even though I completed 30 days. It's like, what does everybody do when they're done with a crash diet? And that's what makes this diet different than all other diets. And so if anybody tells me that this is an elimination diet, this is my answer to that, is that it starts off as an elimination diet, but by the time that you're done, it's all that you want to do. Still right now, if I have a choice between red meat or if I have a choice between any other food on the planet, I am going with the red meat. That's what I love, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. So I'm going to do this all the way through Thanksgiving. Obviously, on Thanksgiving, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to have some turkey, some ham, a keto dessert, no alcohol. That's been one of the biggest things that I've noticed too, is that alcohol cravings gone. Just do not want alcohol anymore. Do not like alcohol anymore. I just find that interesting. A lot of people that go carnivore, that's something that I hear pretty often, actually. So yeah, Thanksgiving through Christmas, the plan is going to be to move to 2 meals a day. So I'm going to spread out my protein consumption a little bit more and see if we can make these legs grow any faster. I've had some good results so far, but after coaching 3 men through a total of 3 competitions all over the US, I am very motivated to get back to work on what I believe will be a scary competitive physique for the next time that I step on stage to compete. Probably summer of 2025, 2026. I want to make sure that we're ready to go and that I'm ready to win. Until then, I'm lean, bulking, and focused on my family, focused on my athletes. I will reintroduce keto bricks right after Thanksgiving. And so it's the only food that I really miss, actually, to be completely honest. It's mainly because I love being in business with Robert Sykes. When I eat a meal replacement bar that is invented by a professional natural bodybuilder made specifically for keto athletes like myself, that puts a big smile on my face. That's something I'll support every day of the week, baby, especially if it's made in the USA. That's the only thing that I'll add back in. So from there, I'll be able to see whether my results change. And that's another one of the benefits of the Lion Diet is you get to learn your body inside and out. And the reason that you do that is you eliminate everything to a handful of foods that you know for sure take very, very little effort for your body to digest. My bowel movements have been easy. It's been first thing, one and done in the morning without effort. It's just a little bit because I'm not eating a bunch of fiber and a bunch of crap that my body can't digest. I'm eating exactly what my body needs, and I'm treating my digestive system with a lot of respect. Okay. So so then when you start adding foods in, when you get an inflammatory response or when it affects your sleep quality, then you can pinpoint what your problem food is. And so for me, hopefully it's not keto bricks. I'm sure it's not, but we're going to start throwing those in. And other than that, I think I don't know. There's nothing else that I particularly miss. So we'll probably just keep working, keep rolling with what's working. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope that you learned something. Share with a friend. If you did, please make sure that you are subscribed to our nutrition podcast that Coach Mark Ennis and I from Ireland have been co-hosting and publishing weekly. Every single week. We have not missed a week for the past 6 months and counting. This is something that we are pouring our lives into. Actually, we're both extremely passionate about it. We really, really are. Thanks for everybody that's been subscribing and that's been showing some love our way on that channel. Glad that it's helping. We've been blessed actually to be ranked number 108 in U.S. nutrition podcasts, and that just means that there's 107 podcasts that are apparently better than us. So watch out, guys. Here we come. Apple, Spotify, all podcast platforms. You can find us there. It is called Carnivore Coaches Corner. Our last episode was with Bart K. It's a really good one. So to summarize, I wanted to do this diet right after being close to it for 6 months prior, but never really 100%, never really doing it perfectly. I wanted to do it perfectly, and we did. I wanted to improve my physique and my health, and we accomplished this, but what I did not expect was to reinvent myself as a person. That alone made the Lion Diet worthwhile, and that's why I'm excited about the next 3 weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of content coming your way from the big trip. And after Thanksgiving, I will be giving my 7-week update. God bless. Catch you on the next video.